Land and water resources reading. Properties of water. About 71% of Earth's surface is covered in water. The world's oceans help regulate climate, provide habitats for marine organisms, dilute and degrade many pollutants, and even have a role in shaping Earth's surface. Freshwater is an important resource for agriculture, transportation, recreation, and numerous other human activities. In addition, the organisms that live on Earth are made up mostly of water. Most animals are about 50 to 65% water by mass. Even trees can be composed of up to 60% water. Salt water is water that includes salt and is not something we can drink as it is. Location of freshwater resources. Water distribution is a continuing problem worldwide, even though most continents have plenty of water. Since the 1970s, scarcity of water has resulted in the deaths of more than 24,000 people each year. In areas where water is scarce, hard to find, women and children often walk long distances each day to collect water for domestic uses. Millions of people also try to survive on land that is prone to drought. About 25 countries, many in Africa, experience chronic water shortages. Use of freshwater resources. Recall that the upper surface of groundwater is called the water table, and that the water-filled rock through which groundwater flows is called an aquifer. Aquifers are refilled naturally as rain moves into and through soil and rock. Uses of freshwater vary worldwide, but about 70% of the water taken each year is used to water 18% of the world's croplands. About 23% of fresh water is used for cooling purposes in power plants for oil and gas production and in industrial processing. Domestic and municipal uses, how we use water every day, accounts for only 7% of the fresh water taken. Dams and reservoirs. Building dams is one of the primary ways that countries manage their freshwater resources. Large dams are built across river valleys, and the reservoirs behind dams capture the river's flow, as well as rain and melting snow. Because the runoff is captured, flooding downstream is controlled. The water held in these reservoirs can be released as necessary to provide water for irrigation, for municipal uses in homes and businesses, or for producing hydroelectric power. Reservoirs also provide opportunities for recreational activities, such as fishing and boating. Dams and reservoirs currently control between 25 and 50% of the total runoff on every continent. Transporting surface water. If you were to visit Europe or the Middle East, you would likely see many ancient aqueducts. The Romans built aqueducts 2,000 years ago to bring water from other locations to their cities. Today, many countries use aqueducts, tunnels, and underground pipes to move water from areas where it is plentiful to areas that need fresh water. Desalination. With great quantities of water available in the oceans, some countries have explored the possibility of removing salt from seawater to provide fresh water in a process called desalination. There are several methods for desalinating seawater. One way is through distillation. Water is heated until it evaporates, and then it is condensed and collected. This evaporation process leaves the salts behind. Most countries that use desalination to produce fresh water use solar energy to evaporate seawater. Although the evaporation of seawater by solar energy is a slow process, it is an inexpensive way to provide needed fresh water. Some desalination plants, such as the one shown in the picture above, use fuel to distill seawater. But because this process is expensive, it is used primarily to provide drinking water. Both processes require large amounts of energy. Pause and complete chunk number 1 of the notes. Publicly managed land. More than 828 million acres of land in the United States is managed by federal, state, and local governments. The map shows that about 28% of land is managed by federal government agencies. These land areas are managed to support recreational uses, grazing, and mineral and energy resources. National forests are managed for sustainable yield and to provide recreational spaces. Wilderness areas are places that are maintained in their natural state and protected from development. This picture shows federally managed land in the United States. Here are the different organizations that manage land. So all of these different colors are different groups or chunks of land that is managed in the United States. Notice a lot more of it in the West here than anywhere else. National parks. The national park system in the United States preserves scenic and unique natural landscapes, preserves and interprets the country's historic and cultural heritage, protects wildlife habitats and wilderness areas, and provides areas for various types of recreation. About 50% of the land in the national park system is designated as wilderness. National wildlife refuges. National wildlife refuges provide protection of habitats and breeding areas for wildlife, and some provide protection for endangered species. Other uses of the land in wildlife refuges, such as fishing, trapping, farming, and logging, are permitted as long as they are compatible with the purpose of the refuge. Desertification. In arid and semi-arid areas of the world, the loss of topsoil leads to desertification, which is the process whereby productive land becomes desert. Desertification can occur when too many grazing animals are kept on arid lands, or when trees and shrubs are cut down for use as fuel in areas with few energy resources. Desertification is a growing problem in Africa, as shown by the map. It is also a growing problem in the Middle East, in the western half of the United States, and in Australia. Desertification can be prevented by reducing overgrazing and by planting trees and shrubs to anchor soil and retain water. In our graph here of the desertification of Africa, we can see orange is true desert, so that is mostly the Sahara Desert right up there. Yellow is the acute risk of desertification. And then green is that moderate to great risk of desertification. So all these areas of Africa are either desert or at risk of becoming desert. Pause and complete the last chunk of your notes.